For 27 years, Jeff Bezos ran one of the most powerful companies on Earth, Amazon, a company that changed how the world shops, ships, reads, stores data, and builds the internet itself. Then in 2021, he stepped down, not retired. Stepped down from CEO of Amazon, the company he built, the company that made him one of the richest individuals in modern history. Most people saw it as a victory lap. Founder becomes chairman, moves on to passion projects. A common story, except that's not exactly what happened, because stepping down didn't reduce Bezos' influence. It changed where that influence lives, quietly, gradually, away from the public spotlight, and towards something much broader. To understand the shift, you have to understand Amazon, not the shopping website, the system behind it. Amazon isn't one business, it's several. Retail, logistics, cloud infrastructure, advertising, artificial intelligence, entertainment, and one of the most important pieces, Amazon Web Services, AWS, the backbone of the internet. Governments use it, startups use it, banks use it, even companies competing with Amazon, they all use AWS, which means Amazon isn't just a retailer, it's infrastructure, the kind that powers entire industries. And Bezos ran that system for nearly 3 decades, until he didn't. July 5th, 2021. Jeff Bezos officially steps down as CEO. The new CEO, Andy Jassy, the former head of AWS. To most people, this looked like succession. Founder steps aside, trusted lieutenant takes control. End of story. But look closer and the timing becomes interesting, because the transition didn't happen randomly. It happened after Amazon reached global scale, after the infrastructure was built, after AWS dominated cloud computing, after the logistics network spanned continents. In other words, the transition occurred after the machine was finished. And Bezos, he moved to chairman. A role that sounds quieter, but often isn't, because chairman isn't about daily operations. It's about direction, long-term strategy, the future path of the company, the place where influence becomes less visible, but often more powerful. And while that transition was happening, another project was accelerating, Blue Origin, a space company Bezos started in 2000, long before the modern private space race. For years, Blue Origin moved slowly, deliberately, quietly, building rockets, testing engines, developing infrastructure, while another company dominated headlines, SpaceX. But Bezos was never chasing headlines. Blue Origin followed a different philosophy, gradual progress, long timelines. The belief that space infrastructure would eventually become a trillion-dollar industry. And once Bezos stepped away from Amazon's daily operations, that project became central. Not a hobby, but a long-term vision. Then there's media. In 2013, Bezos purchased the Washington Post for $250 million. At the time, it seemed unusual, a tech founder buying a legacy newspaper. But the purchase came with something interesting. The Post was bought personally, not through Amazon, meaning the newspaper operates independently from the company, yet still tied to Bezos himself. And under his ownership, the Post transformed. Digital subscriptions surged, tech infrastructure improved, and the paper regained profitability, which raised a different question. Why would a technology founder buy one of the most powerful newspapers in America? Influence, visibility, narrative power, not necessarily control, but proximity. Then there are investments, because Bezos doesn't just run companies, he funds them through Bezos Expeditions, an investment vehicle backing companies across technology, space, biotech, media, and artificial intelligence. Some of those investments became major companies. Others remain mostly invisible, which means Bezos' influence now spreads across industries without being tied to a single corporation, a portfolio rather than a throne. And that may be the most interesting shift, because when Bezos was CEO of Amazon, his power was concentrated, one company, one role, one system. Today, it's distributed across space, media, technology, infrastructure, and investments that operate quietly in the background. The result? Less daily visibility, but potentially more reach, and therefore influence and narrative power. The public narrative still frames Bezos as the founder of Amazon, but that description may already be outdated, because Amazon is now a finished machine, a system capable of running without him, which allowed Bezos to do something founders rarely do: step away while the machine keeps expanding. And that leaves a question: not about Amazon, but about the future. Because Jeff Bezos didn't leave power, he redistributed it across systems, throughout industries, and through long-term bets nearly everyone overlooks. The question isn't whether Bezos is still influential. The question is where that influence is moving next. Jeff Bezos, founder, chairman, investor, and possibly something else, something quiet, harder to define. Because sometimes the most powerful moves are the quiet ones, like stepping away.